My name's Dave Pearson and I'm one of the founders of a group called Bike Club. Jean-François is a member of our group and Jean and I have known each other since 2012. Réunion Island has had some horrific attacks which unfortunately I know of and have been involved in the families, and it hasn't been a happy time over in Réunion Island.
You can get closer, it will be easier because my English is not perfect. I hope you can understand what I have to explain.
My name is Jean-François Nativel. I'm a PE teacher, national bodyboard champion, a waterman of 35 years, a swimmer, surfer and spear fisherman. In 2011, following a shark attack in the heart of our main sea resort, I joined a fishing expedition to find the bull shark responsible. This caused a lot of controversy, which led me to my struggle for shark mitigation. Then followed 8 years of fighting, in which I personally became involved. I founded the first Réunion's Shark Attack Prevention Society, Ocean Prevention Réunion. My objective was to maintain access to the sea in Réunion. I'm not a marine biologist or academic, but through my relentless study, many people considered me as a specialist. This is the tragic story of my book. For 6 years, it has been illegal to go into the ocean in Réunion Island. What happened in Réunion Island? Réunion is a small isolated island, lost in the Indian Ocean. It has been a French territory since 1946, where aquatic activities have been developed over the last 40 years. But before I talk about the special case in Réunion, I'm going to present a comparison between 5 shark attack hotspots throughout the world, in regions with similar shark species and climate. We will successfully see the situations in Australia, Brazil, Hawaii, South Africa, Florida, and Réunion Island. We start with Australia. I'm not Australian, but I'm very interested in your situation, and I will offer my external analysis and perspective. You are a country with a big water sports culture. The ocean has been part of your life for more than a century, as seen in this photo of the 30s. The water sports culture is very strong in this region, and its shark mitigation policy is strongly reflected by the way its beaches are protected, with 84 beaches protected by drumlines and nets. An example of the drumline positioning just behind the surfers. In Réunion Island, there is a big controversy around the fact that the drumline bait attracts sharks close to the coast. These photos show that 50 years of experience of shark mitigation through the use of drumlines proves that this is false. Looking at the capture figures, we see that the numbers of sharks caught has been unaffected year after year. 100 bull sharks and around 200 tiger sharks shows that these shark species look resistant to fishing efforts. These shark prevention measures are successful, as indicated by the Australian Environmental Authority in 2017. There have been no shark fatalities in the areas where the program has been operating since 1962. But more shark attacks on non-protected beaches. Like in Réunion, with the pressure of the Greens and the ecological conscience, the authorities prefer to develop non-lethal methods. But are they effective? The non-lethal barrier systems have not worked in Australia nor in Réunion. The sonar systems are still not operational. Following a series of unprecedented deadly attacks, Colin Barnett's government supported the deployment of drumlines to protect beaches in 2014. The New Age approach suggests a dreamy, peaceful cohabitation between prey and predator. This caused doubt about the program's policy after a protest. As everywhere else, the debate becomes a political issue, with an electoral risk for those who courageously assume a mitigation policy. In September 2014, the Australian Environmental Authority rejected the mitigation program because of uncertainties about the impact on the great white shark population. A surprising and incomprehensible backflip, according to the shark prevention experts. Since then, new deadly attacks are occurring. What future in Western Australia? In 2018, Margaret River Pro competition was cancelled after 2 shark attacks occurred nearby. Like Reunion Island, the experiments with non-lethal preventative measures, such as the protective barriers, turned into a fiasco. Like in Réunion, the swimmers are easier to protect than surfers, the politicians preferring to invest in swimming pools rather than to confront the problem. The only thing that seems acceptable now in Western Australia is the smart drum lines, as they are non-lethal. Like in Reunion Island, the fishermen reported a rise in the number of sharks, but this empirical data is not accepted by the biologists. Other theories in Australia wonder about the aggravating factors, such as the cowbell effect, or even the modifications of shark behaviour made by cage diving. Like everywhere, conservationist opposition seems to reflect an anti-humanist societal evolution, the human being considered as the enemy of the planet. They are not embarrassed to make martyrs and sacrifices. Like in Reunion Island, some families are saying that the government are more focused on protecting sharks than humans, but the only acceptable position in our modern society is that which says the animal is superior to man, in particular the apex predator. While others remain in a notion of union, listening and helping the victims, survivors, families and rescuers, such as Dave, founder of the Bike Club, present here. Brazil is a big country. Only the Pernambuco region is confronted with a disproportionate risk. The Recife area has experienced significant urbanization with a low wastewater treatment, resulting in high levels of pollution. The study of the political management there is very interesting, as one can observe the results of 25 years of scientific studies and also of prohibition, in partnership with the French Research and Development Institute. It's the first community to call for security against a major risk and denounce the calamitous mitigation management scandal. With a very strong opposition and conflict against the shark cull, including provocations and threats. There, 3 organizations have emerged to defend ocean user interests, but they are not really well developed. Please notice the following slides may be distressing to viewers. The first attacks began in 1992. Previously, this region had been spared by this phenomenon. When I was there in 2014, the people I met were convinced that the cause was the increase of the bull shark population, considered a plague, maybe because of the growing pollution. The violence of the attacks is so horrible that they nicknamed the city Recife. The pictures are self-explanatory. Banning access to the ocean was the only measure, next to the capture and release of some specimens in the 2000s. But it was impossible to enforce in a city of several million people, living in front of the sea in a tropical area. In July 2013, Bruna Gobbi was killed in front of the camera. Impossible to claim it was a drowning. It happened to a tourist, and her family demanded retribution. Usually the victims are poor people, and the official investigation concludes with a drowning, where the body was bitten after death. After the last non-contest attack, the only measure debated is to increase penalties against bathers. As would have been the case for the last 3 victims, who won't be officially counted in the shark attacks of 2015, 2017 and 2018, neither in Brazil nor anywhere else. As in Reunion Island, the defenders of access to the ocean there are trying to make changes in order to bring their fight onto the political field. They also regularly organise shark tastings because it's important to give meaning to fishing, not just to kill, but to propose an outlet for the byproducts. When I was in Recife, I made people aware of the big environmental problem with pollution. As a result, Mauro Melo, the president of the local surf league, decided to start organising beach cleanups by surfers since 2014. The only scientific explanation of the attacks revolves around a change in shark behaviour due to the construction of the Suape port. The other designated cause of the attacks is the current, which according to the rescue services would drag the bathers off into shark-infested areas. The only solution given consisted of environmental education in the form of naive booklets where the shark is shown as a friend, provided you have the number of the rescue organisation. This measure is associated with a formal ban on swimming and water activities outside the tiny supervised areas, often behind a barrier of rocks or coral. The scientists released the conclusions of 20 years of study in 2014, in which they welcomed the great success of their green program, since it hadn't required the death of any shark. Can reducing the risk through a ban be morally considered as an honourable solution? South Africa has similarities with Australia. Durban, where the prevention of attacks was implemented in the 1950s, and Cape Town, where prevention through fishing was not accepted. Following a rise of attacks in the 2000s, Cape Town declined fishing as a method of shark mitigation, like in Western Australia, because there too the offending species are protected great white sharks. They had the idea of developing the shark spotter system. It is a system specific to this region, made up of large expanses of shallow ocean and white sand, allowing observers located on the surrounding mountains to sound a real-time alert to emergency stations when a great white shark is spotted near the beach. Following a series of attacks in the 50s, Durban followed the Australian example by deploying nets. A second series of attacks on unprotected beaches threatened the tourism industry and led to a genuine popular uprising. This led to the establishment of the Natal Shark Board in 1964. Since then, the Natal Shark Board has been protecting beaches and at the same time offering an educational program at a museum. 46 beaches are efficiently protected. The average number of sharks caught each year is about 500. Mitigation methods are facing growing opposition from shark protectors, who are trying to remove nets and drum lines, but it seems to be less influential in a country that is experiencing major economic and social difficulties. In this 2016 article, Jeremy Cliff, director of the Natal Shark Board, confirms the effectiveness of the nets. There has been no serious attack on Durban's protected beaches since 1952. Hawaii, 99.3% of reserves are located on totally uninhabited islands. The shark attack problem is unique to Hawaii. There was a peak in 91-92 with 3 deaths of surfers, which led to small regulatory action by the state and the surfers themselves. The attacks are frequent, but often not fatal. The risk in Hawaii is acceptable and accepted given the large number of people in the water and the very low number of fatalities, only 6 from 1980. Hawaii does not employ a shark mitigation policy. We can see that it is mainly tiger shark attacks in Hawaii and that there are very few fatalities. There are no bull sharks and very few white sharks in Hawaii. The tiger shark is considered the most dangerous species on the planet because of its large distribution around the world. But this data in Hawaii suggests that this species is more curious, but at the same time not as tenacious as the bull shark. The question of a mitigation policy regularly returns to the public debate after each fatality in Hawaii, as was the case after the death of Jana in July 2013. Florida is the epicenter of shark attacks around the world, with an average of 25 attacks per year, with very few lethal attacks. Most attacks are not serious, and they are content to just momentarily close the beaches, with information-based prevention measures. Many swimmers, sharks, but also recreational fishermen. It is a paradox to note that the no-cull movement comes from the USA, a country that kills a lot of sharks. A country where dozens of fishing tournaments take place without fear. Here is a comparison between 4 locations with similar climate: Hawaii, Florida, Réunion, and Brazil. In these graphs about the species involved in the attacks, one finds that in Hawaii it's basically tiger sharks, in Réunion and Brazil it's mostly bull sharks, and in Florida a mix of species, including many small sharks. As a result of the analysis I did in 2013, bull sharks are mostly responsible for the attacks in Réunion and Recife, where the fatality rate is much higher. The case in Hawaii shows that the tiger shark is far less aggressive than the bull shark. Fatal shark attacks remain an extremely rare phenomenon on the planet, but continue to receive growing media attention. because this phenomenon fascinates public opinion in our modern societies where shark and surfer have become new icons. In relation to the number of population and people in the water, Réunion Island exceeds all records despite the ocean being closed since 2013. Conservationist propaganda convinces people that if sharks are in danger, it's a result of the bad image they receive from the media. This results in a multitude of ways to belittle this risk, even from the most powerful people. Example of Bill Gates, who makes silly comparisons with mosquitoes to ridicule shark attacks. Yet sharks are not fished around the world because of their bad image, but rather for their meat. 76 million sharks are fished each year for food, and only around 2,000 for mitigation. What if accepting the death of a few hundred sharks for mitigation could reduce the number of attacks, improve the image of sharks, and lead in return to protect millions of others? The case of Réunion Island. Cause 1. A shark island. How can we explain our exceptional situation? Cause 1.1. A particular geology. We are a young island with a rapidly descending coastal seabed compared to Mauritius Island. Sharks that live in depths of 60 to 100 meters are closer to humans in Réunion, which increases chances of encounter. The 100-meter depth line is very close to the shore compared to the older sister, Mauritius Island. Cause 1.2. Abundant rain. We have several world records for rainfall, with more than 700 ravines and rivers that flow to the ocean, and bull sharks that love fresh water. Cause 2. Arrival, development of the bull shark. Shark species in ancient times in Réunion. In this 1979 issue on Réunion sharks, the bull shark is almost non-existent. The aquatic activities are practiced without problem. Cause 2. Bull shark was not well listed in 1979. The bull shark is poorly drawn and no interaction found by the journalist. There was a lot of fishermen in the past years. They never saw bull sharks at that time in the seaside area. Since the marine reserve, this activity is prohibited in this place. In the past, in Réunion, we only found tiger sharks or other species, but no bull sharks. Bull shark, a non-listed species in the area. Bull shark in the world UICN map. This species is not listed in the Mascarene Islands. In the 90s, the first identifications in Réunion. They began to cause attacks and to be identified from the late 1980s. Before, the attacks took place on spear fishermen from reef sharks. This situation reminds us of Recife, where the bull shark appeared and settled like a real plague. Previously, there was a fishing effort around the island. Here are the oldest photos of bull sharks caught on Réunion Island. Cause 3. The end of the coastal shark fishery. Before, there was a regular fishing pressure, as was the case everywhere else around the island, with a lot of testimonials from regular fishermen, and demonstrated by many stories and clippings. This document was produced by the Fisheries Committee and shows a significant decrease in the number of sharks caught. The commercialization of coastal shark meat was banned from 1999 because of the risk of a toxin, which exists in Madagascar, kasha toxin. Very little is known about this disease, but as a precaution, shark meat prohibition remains in force. It resulted in a stoppage of the fishery. Réunion remains the only place on the planet where this ban is in effect. Hypothesis of an increase in the population of coastal sharks. Could stopping fishing have led to a proliferation of coastal sharks? Is it the same for tiger sharks? Traditional recreational fishermen catch many juvenile bull sharks every summer in the estuaries. Cause 4. The marine area. What is the impact of setting up a marine reserve in an ideal habitat for coastal sharks? A bibliographical document summary dating back to 2000, before the creation of a marine reserve, clearly indicates that a reserve modifies the behavior of predators. Many studies report a link between marine reserves and a rising shark occurrence. Last study in 2018 in Chagos Island says, the marine protected area is a valuable pantry and a refuge for young sharks. Environmental situation. Réunion remains to be one of the least polluted French territories. Turbidity due to heavy rains should not be confused with pollution. Compared to other regions or tropical islands, we have a lesser polluted environment. A broad mitigation policy has been put in place in response to the fight led by the prevention associations. And one of the aspects is the use of smart drum lines, which can target dangerous sharks and keep bycatch alive. In return, a total ban on fishing for reef sharks was introduced in February 2015. The aim is to restore an unbalanced ecosystem due to an excessive bull shark presence. Securing by non-lethal barrier nets was attempted in 2016, but bull sharks attacked twice inside the nets and caused the end of this project. The ocean has been banned for more than 5 years, and there are still hundreds of ocean users who continue despite the ban. Because we are a paradise for surfing and a home to international champions.
So it's finished. Thank you for your listening.